Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for hopping on. My name is Grandson Nyima. I'm fourth year radiography student based in Nigeria. I'm also a medical writer and also a proficient, like I said, I'm a proficient medical writer and also a content creator, especially on YouTube. I have an amazing guest speaker today for Metal Chats. Her name is Patti. I'll give her the floors to introduce herself. Hey, Patti, could you
Yeah.
introduce yourself to the audience?
Hi everyone, my name is Pati Paulo. I am currently in medical operations, medical affairs slash R&D in pharmaceuticals. My background is in biomedical science, so I studied biomed in um, Maynooth University in Ireland, and from there, after graduating, I actually had the hopes to become a doctor one day, but things had panned out differently, so I decided to move to Canada, where I moved to Canada around 22, networked a little bit, and then I landed my first role within medical devices. So I was living in Canada for about 2 years, and then moved to the UK in the role that I'm in at the moment. So while I was in Canada in the medical device role, I got a lot of I got my foot in through sales, but then I also got exposed to quality projects, like quality management projects, like CAPAs, and like correct adverse events, working with adverse events within the company. And then now I work in pharmaceuticals, which is different to medical devices, and I work in a variety of areas within research and development. So I started off in working with the clinical team, preclinical team, and medical affairs team, and then now I work mainly with the medical affairs team, with the medical science liaisons in any projects that they have coming up, any conferences that they have coming up, any like administrative work with the publications, or any posters, abstracts, etc. And a heavy part of my role is also medical education, so educational grants, ancillary grants, for any projects or educating HCPs around the world. So yeah.
Amazing. Patti, thank you so much for introducing yourself to the audience. And I believe that the audience now know a little bit about you. So we have a couple of questions for you to answer. You ready?
Absolutely. Yeah, perfect. I'm ready.
All right. I know you're ever ready.
Yeah.
So before I proceed to the next questions, couple of questions we have for you. Um, talk us through. I think these are two questions in one, right? Talk us through what was your experience working in life sciences department or industry? You know, you've integrated from working in Canada and also in the UK, right? So talk us through how does it feel working in these two countries
Yeah.
in the life science department or industry, and also talk us through about networking because I know there are med students out there and also the audiences in different specialties they're going to watch this video. So talk us through how does networking help us grow as a human. Talk us through.
Okay, I'll start off with the first question in relation to the differences, and also just working in the different countries, so Canada and the UK. My experience working in Canada in life sciences was actually very, very good. I really enjoyed my time there. The work culture was amazing. The company that I worked for, they really helped with my growth, in terms of like knowledge on everything health tech, med tech. So getting my foot in through the door and also learning the right regulations, according to Health Canada, and just making sure that you're as doing things as per procedure is a big thing that they advocate down there for. So yeah, I really enjoyed my time working there, and even outside, like the people that I've met in those in the industry while I was out there are people that I'm still in contact with till this day. They're just really amazing people. So the work culture was really, really good, and also just the overall experience was amazing. And then also working in the UK, you're exposed to a lot more regulations, so it's a lot tighter in terms of the procedures that we're doing. So working in the UK, for example, with ABPI, code of practice, there's just a lot more regulations, and it's a lot stricter than a lot more other countries. And then also with both, I was like working globally, so I was still exposed to working with the US, EMEA, Canada, and now the Middle East. So although yeah, working in the UK has been good. There's definitely a balance. Both jobs were work from home as well. But I feel like, yeah, my experience in Canada was just, I just really loved working in Canada. I really love the work culture there. Not to say that the work culture in the UK isn't good, it's great, and I met some amazing people here as well. But I think because the guidelines are so much stricter, it can get a bit stressful. But just you're learning a lot as you go along in your journey. So yeah, that's my to answer the first question. And then the second question relating to networking, I think the best thing for networking, and as you've seen on my LinkedIn, I love going to networking events. I love connecting with different people. I think the best thing that it does for you, especially with me, my story into networking is very unconventional. So it was actually a dentist that I connected with on the Irish Living in Toronto page, and he reached out to me because I was looking to see if there was any way to get connected with different people in the industry. And then he actually recommended for me to start going to networking events. So my first networking event was Science to Business in Canada. I was 22 years old again. I was so young. I didn't know anything about networking. I was not as confident either. I was quite scared. But it was quite a small setting, which was really, really good because you get to move around the room, and it, it takes you out of your shell as well. You become a lot more confident, and then when you're speaking to the different people and just learning from the knowledge that they give you on what they're doing currently, the projects that they're working on, and also their educational background as well, it gives you a great insight as to where you want to go as well. Like just collecting all the data from what you're learning from everyone as well, and also just building like genuine connections as well. Like I think it's very, very important to show up as yourself, be confident, and I think that's what makes you stand out, like as a first impression. And even if you're not as confident, your knowledge and the confidence within the knowledge that you have speaks for itself as well as you're having these conversations. And it only takes one person to say yes to whatever you have planned, or whatever you're looking to do, and then it can really change your life. So yeah, that was my first introduction or first step into networking, and I'm an advocate for it. I definitely encourage people to do it, and I think it just builds to your overall confidence, and builds on all of your social skills, communication skills, and yeah, so many benefits to networking. So I'm sure we'll get onto that like towards the end of
Yeah,
the yeah
amazing.
podcast.
So, Patty, thank you so much for talking us through how working the same in a the same industry
Hmm.
but in a different countries,
Yeah.
in life sciences the industry. And so thank you so much for talking us through how your experiences, working at those different countries were, and also networking. And I believe that the audiences out there are really enlightened about um, networking, because like Patty said that networking helped her to land her dream job in Canada.
Hmm.
So what does that entail? It entails that networking could help you open doors you've longed for. So, Patty, thank you so much for talking us through. So, let's proceed to the first question for you.
Hmm.
Now, talk us through what new trends or innovations within life sciences
Hmm.
are you most excited about, and what impact do you think it will have on the patient care? Talk us through.
So like healthcare, as you may know, has come a long way, especially like in technology. especially. So we went from, you know, the discovery of the pacemaker back in, I think it was 1958, if I'm not mistaken, to now things like continuous glucose monitoring systems, machines to help with blood pressure monitoring. And we're going from now the big blood pressure monitoring systems to now, I think now it's actually gone into like smaller bangles that people are using to track their blood pressure. So there's definitely some great exciting things that are coming out as of recent. And I think last month there was also the Nobel Peace Prize that had come out. So in those prizes and awards, you're also seeing um, great research that has come out as well in trends that we're seeing in healthcare too. So the ones that I'm most excited about is things like, you know, blood pressure monitoring and glucose monitoring, and the accuracy that it's come from a couple of years ago till now. And another thing that I'm also excited about is how they're implementing AI in a lot of these med tech technologies. Also, a lot of them that are helping with caregiving, a lot of them that are helping with research, you know, really narrowing down with real world evidence in research. And then another part is helping doctors or HCPs with administrative work as well. So then it can take their workload off of administrative work and more focus on the patient. Now, there is pros and cons when it comes to the use of AI, as we may have seen. It's really hard to regulate, and it's yeah, there is some pros and cons around it, because it's not something that we can heavily rely on as of right now. It's definitely helped in innovation, but it's not something that we can 100% give our full trust to. But I'm here for whatever it, you know, it may entail and what it will bring. Another thing that I'm really excited about within biotech, especially, is the development of you know, biotech technology within sickle cell. I know sickle cell is a huge you know, therapeutic area that affects people of color, especially like the black population. And there's been a good few research out, and there's been a good few approvals or even clinical trials out at the moment that are really pushing for new biotechnology treatments within sickle cell. So that's one thing that I'm also on the lookout for and excited about as well. Yeah, without saying too much. So yeah, so that's what I've been excited about and keeping up with too. So
Amazing, amazing, amazing. Wow. Thank you so much for talking to us there about the emerging trends or innovations within life sciences slash biotechnology department, and you're most excited about, and what impact you think it would have, on patient care. Love the fact you talked about, the tracking, the watch that we wear that tracks the blood pressure of a human. That's an amazing emerging trend in
mhm,
healthcare as well, and also about sickle cell, anemia. Is a very, like you said, affecting blacks
mhm,
especially, and loving the fact that there are new trends or innovations that helping to, you know, remove such therapeutic disease, like you said. So thank you so much for talking to us here about that. So the next question for you is, can you explain the research and development process to bring a new pharmaceutical product to market? Because I know there are a lot of, you know, challenges, pharmaceutical industries face when producing a new pharmaceutical product and also marketing it, to the audiences. So talk us through, what are the researches and development process to bring a new pharmaceutical product to market? Talk us through.
So to bring new product to market, whether it's device or even in the pharmaceutical fields, we have to really take it back all the way to the very beginning. So the drug discovery phase. So in the drug discovery phase, that's where you actually look at what therapeutic area that you're trying to target, what's the biomarkers, and how it would benefit. an overall population or a population of even in rare diseases, for example, and who actually needs it. So and also the chemical components of that product is all looked at and researched in that first drug discovery phase. So that's step one. And then once you kind of determine the drug discovery and like discover which one that you want to go with in terms of like the biomarkers and how it works, mechanism of action, then you look bring it into the next phase, which is preclinical stages. So preclinical stages looks at how the drug is tested or how the product is tested before it's given to humans. So in devices, it's looked at in more of a prototype. So they build a prototype and they see if the prototype is safe to use in humans. But in medical or in pharmaceuticals, it's more so testing it on mainly animals to look at the toxicology and pharmacology, using assays in order to measure what kind of dose that can be determined to that would be safe to use in humans. So they would test it on animals first, mainly animals first, and they would do it according to good laboratory practice and make sure that the animals are safe as well in these trials. And then also, so yeah, they would collect all of the data, look at the study design using the data that they would get from the preclinical trials, and then they would now bring it to clinical trials. So in clinical trials, it would go from there's like four phases. So the first phase is phase one, where they look at a small cohort of patients. So it would go vary from like 3 patients to maybe 10 patients, like roundabout. And there they look at the pharmacokinetics and pharmacodynamics of the drug. They also look at maximum tolerated dose of the drug as well, to see if how well this small portion of patients that have never probably received the drug before, how they can tolerate the drug. And then they also look at the recommended scheduling of that dosing and the drug for that would they would come up with the study design for phase two. But then they also look at how the drug would be administered. So it would either be intravenously or topical. Those are just two examples. And yeah, so that's really what they would gain there. It's more mainly safety and drug dosing or maximum tolerated dosing would be the first target for phase one studies. And only 70%, I think it's about 70% of studies make it from phase one to phase two. So that's already taken out 30% of the studies that would make it from the first part of the clinical trials to the second part of the clinical trials. So that's phase one. So then phase two looks at the safety and efficacy of the drug. So they would look at how well the drug works within the body, how the patient tolerates is well able to tolerate it as well, and also if it's safe to use for a bigger population. And they would also kind of look at the data from the phase two studies to see if it's going to help with, or if it's enough to see if it's going to work for a bigger population, or if it's beneficial enough, let's say, for to look at as a bigger population, for a bigger population. So that's really the purpose of phase two. Usually phase two is about like is a single arm study, and only about 33% of patients within phase two, sorry, like I just have to, yeah. So only 33% of phase two studies actually make it to phase three studies, and they're about 30 to 100 or maximum, 30 to 100 patients that would participate in phase two studies. And then we would then bring it on to phase three studies, which entail a bigger population. So it'll mainly be multi-center. And in phase three studies, they actually look at the standard care that they have at the moment in terms of the how the drug works, or how the drug not it's necessarily the drug, but the standard of care already. So what HCPs are doing at the moment in order to help with that therapeutic area versus introducing the drug in. And sometimes they use the standard of care along with the drug, but then other times they could even use the drug standalone, or placebo as well would be introduced there. And with phase 3 studies, it again, because it's multi-center, it would vary for like with hundreds and hundreds of patients, so it'd be about 300 patients or more would participate in phase 3 studies to see again if this drug is safe. And a lot of the data that's collected from phase 3 studies is very, very important, because that's what would determine the if the drug would be marketed, and the marketing application, um you know post marketing, if the drug is approved. It's a huge determinant in phase 3 studies. So before the clinical studies or clinical trials would even start, it's important for an IND application. So in regulatory affairs, it would be important for an IND application to be submitted to the regulatory body to make sure that the clinical studies are done as per guidelines, and that the regulatory body is actually aware that this is being given to humans and safely, and making sure that they're monitoring it. And then again, all the data would be collected just enough for the marketing, post marketing, or approval stages, marketing stages. So, and then once the drug is approved and it's ready for marketing, that's when, again, regulatory still stays there, but commercialization marketing would come in. But again, that would be heavily regulated. You have to go by follow the proper guidelines on licensing, patient information leaflets, and overall, like, just making sure that it's done correctly, so then the HCPs and the patients know exactly what they're taking, or know exactly what they're buying or taking in when the drug is marketed. Yeah,
Amazing. That was, thank you so much, Patty.
no worries.
Wow. That was, you talked us through the processes
Yeah.
of, researching, developing the developmental processes of bringing a new pharmaceutical product to market. So, amazing, amazing. Because prior to my knowledge, later knowledge in pharmacology, I think you mentioned some key points that made me intrigued to more. So, because of time, I want to lay it out there to the audience. So, if you have questions pertaining to, you need more clarifications on the researches, the rigorous research and developmental processes, the more to bringing in a new pharmaceutical product to the market. I think Patty is there for you because she has a lot of couple of experiences in the medical device industry, and she's willing to answer those questions for you. So if you want to reach out to Patty, her LinkedIn page will be added to the YouTube description. Go over to her LinkedIn page and connect with her and ask her questions. If you can't do that, you can drop your questions in the comment sections, and Patty will be willing to answer those questions. So Patty, thank you so much for your answers to that intriguing question. So the next question for you is, how does collaboration between different teams, like the clinical, the medical, regulatory, the legal, and the commercials, play a role in successful research and development outcomes? Talk us there.
So collaboration is so important within research and development, all the way from, again, the beginning discovery phase, preclinical department, clinical department, medical affairs is also included in this as well, and regulatory, legal. Everyone has to work, and the commercial team, of course. Everyone has to work together to make sure that everyone's on the same page. And a big part of making sure that everyone's on the same page is holding a lot of meetings, making sure that everybody's ideas and thoughts are communicated effectively. Another big thing that ensures successful collaboration is also accuracy. Accuracy is a big thing, whether it's like the work that you're working on has to be on like to the best standard, and as per guidance as well. And it's also not only for the benefit of the company or the sponsor, but it's also for the benefit of the patients that are receiving the products down the line. So accuracy and standard of that your work, the standard of your work is very, very important when it comes to collaboration. Another thing that I would probably think of, yeah, it would be like, yeah, those would be the main two. Yeah, making sure that you're effectively communicate, because I work globally as well. So like, just to give a bit of my personal experience, like working with people in different countries and different languages as well. Sometimes it's like, language barrier can be a big thing as well. So making sure that you take your time with understanding the answers that, or the questions that are given, or the ideas that are put across, and being really patient as well in doing that is very, very key. Because again, you're going to work with people around the world, and to make sure that everybody is on the same page, that level of understanding and that level of patience is also key, so you can understand what their needs are, what your needs are, and then in turn it's going to create a more accurate level of work along those lines. So yeah, I think those are the main things, especially when you're working globally as well. So
Yeah, language, everything has a disadvantage and an advantage, right? Collaborations amongst healthcare professionals has a great advantage, but there are also disadvantages, like you talked about language barriers, like for instance, an English person trying to like collaborate with a Spanish medical professional, there's gonna be like a barrier because of the language, right? So,
mhm,
but nevertheless, there are still, you know, collaborations amongst different people with different languages that ends up becoming a successful research and in terms of the developmental outcomes. So language shouldn't be a barrier in terms of collaborations among healthcare professionals. So thank you so much, Patty, for talking us through about how collaborations between different teams,
mhm.
the clinical, medical, regulatory, legal, and commercial, play a role in successful research and developmental outcomes in general. So the last question for you, Patty, is in general, what advice would you give to professionals looking forward to entering the medical research and developmental sector, particularly in the pharmaceutical and medical device fields? Talk us there. What advice do you have for them?
So I think to start off, the main advice that I would give to firstly students that are like even looking to that have an interest in life sciences. So like, let's say for example high school students. So the main thing that I would give advice that I would give to them is to do a lot of research. Healthcare is more than just being a doctor, and I think getting that information out there is very important to see what other options and what other roles are out there aside from medicine, right? Because there's definitely other areas that need to be filled, like other areas within healthcare that need to be filled. There's other interesting areas as well. Again, my journey was also to want to be a doctor because I thought that was the only way to be able to contribute to healthcare, but there was so much more ways that I could do that. So had I had the information there and done like a lot more research, or even speaking to different people, again, networking is a huge one. We now have LinkedIn, which I didn't have before when I was younger. So you can actually go on LinkedIn and create a LinkedIn, see what the different profiles, if you have a like a cousin or friend or family friend that works within industry, have a conversation with them and see what they do and see if that sparks your interest. So that would be my advice to like like high school kind of students, like high school, secondary school students. If you're in college and you already have like a life science like you're already in a life science degree, my advice is do the internships. Like if your course already has an internship, that's amazing, but if you don't, to get that exposure, definitely look into internships. I know a lot of the bigger companies or sponsors, or even hospitals, they do take students in order to see if they, have the experience, to see if that's something that an area that you would be interested in. A lot of other companies also allow for rotations as well, so you actually get to rotate in different departments to see which department suits you. And I think that's a great way to see if, like, get that exposure within different departments, see where your weaknesses and strengths are, and really thrive, see where you thrive, and see where you have the most interest, and grow within that as well. So, but then it's never too late, because if even when you are in industry, because even for myself, my journey is not conventional. Like, I started off in medical devices, and I'm now in pharmaceuticals, and you never know what the next step will bring. However, it also added to my overall portfolio, overall growth, and getting that exposure into different departments as I have, just without the I guess the internship aspect or graduate program aspect. It still was like allowing me to see which areas worked for me. So I know that I have a great quality mindset, like in terms of quality management, quality systems. I love anything around that, but that also is transferable within what I do now in medical operations, making sure that the quality of your work and making sure that the quality of the product is safe and effective, and etc. So I feel like a lot of roles are transferable, and if you want to pivot, it's very like it's possible to do that. It's possible to pivot if you're already within the roles. But university students, I would say, internships, graduate programs right after university. There's a lot of graduate programs out there that can allow you to get that exposure. Networking is key. I would say even start networking while you're in university as well. Create that LinkedIn profile, get that confidence, step out your comfort zone, and see what's out there. I have a list of like networking events that could benefit as well. So like for example, if you're based in the UK, Somex is a great one. They do a lot of health tech talks. Emerging health leaders in Toronto. So if you're based in Toronto, emerging health leaders, TELUS Health, Ontario Bioscience, Business to Science. So they're great networking events or networking fields that networking events that I've gone to, and you can find a lot of them on Eventbrite as well. Eventbrite, LinkedIn, even social media these days, TikTok, like is booming as well for the younger generation. So you can actually go on those platforms and see if there's any like events for you specific to what you're looking for. So if it's health tech, there's something there for you. If it's specific to biomedical science, there's something there for you. If it's something related to doctors or healthcare professionals, there's something there for you. Other ones on the list I have is, so if you're based in the UK, Black Women in Science is a really good one. The Catalyst in Me is great for science communication and also just job profiling. So you can actually go on there and see different people's roles and their journeys to those roles. So the Catalyst in Me is really good for that. Black Health Connect is based in the US, but they've started to do events in the UK as well. Black in Pharma is also another US based like networking platform, but they work globally, so worldwide. And Black Professionals in Life Sciences is another one based in the UK. So yeah, I would say the biggest things is when you're connecting with people, don't be afraid, definitely be confident, be intentional about the interests that you have, and always stay up to date as well on the latest articles, podcasts, anything of the latest that you have interested within the life sciences. Stay up to date. So then it creates a great conversation starting point when you're having conversations while networking as well. So that would be a little advice as well.
Amazing, amazing. That was a nice nuggets right there. Thank you so much, Patty. So we've come to the end of the session. Do well to watch this video to the end of it so you can grasp the full content Patty has for us. So, like I said, if you love this content, do well to like, share, and subscribe, and share to your network. And if you have questions, you can drop it to in the comment section. So yeah, we've come to the end of the session. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Patty, for your time.
Thanks for
We
having
really
me.
appreciate it. You're welcome. Amazing,